Well, hello everyone. It's top of the hour. It's Marcus here. I'm waiting also for Jutta to join, but I know she had another call right ahead of it, so she may be a bit late. But in any case, you will have noticed, of course, that we are using a different platform. We're using Zoom now. That was mainly at the request of the Dynamic Coalition for Accessibility for Disabilities. They had issues pointed out repeatedly with WebEx, and at their request, we're making a pilot now with using Zoom and see how it works. It may take some getting used to it for those who have never used Zoom before, but it is, I think, a very performing platform and very self-explanatory. Eleonora has sent out an agenda, and we our Jutta has joined. Hello, Jutta, and I will hand over to you to moderate the session, the substantive session. But I just thought maybe give also the floor before we start to Eleonora, as she had the idea to come up with a review of the updates from individual DCs. Eleonora, would you be kind enough to explain a little bit the rationale behind it? Thanks.
Sure. Hi, Marcus. Hi, everyone. It's Eleonora. Yes, I thought that it might be a good idea for us to start off this meeting and potentially some other future meetings with brief updates from each of the DCs represented on the call. No more than 2 or 3 minutes just on what your DC is working on now, what you hope to work on or accomplish over the coming months within the DC, and any long-term objectives for the DC that you would like to share. Also, if there have been any recent changes to the membership of the coalition that might be interesting for other DCs to know. I'm thinking of, for instance, the IRPC, which just had its steering committee elections and has new co-chairs and some new members, including an IGF MAG member. So these are all the kinds of updates which briefly, might interest other DCs.
Thank you, Eleonora. Jutta, would you like to say a few words before I hand over to you, any case?
Thank you, Marcus, for giving me the floor, and sorry for being slightly late. I had just another meeting with Sandra from Eurodic, so it was a little bit tight. Yes, I'm glad to welcome all the dynamic coalitions. I'm just trying to get acquainted with Zoom, and I hope it's really accessible for those who had previously difficulties with the WebEx. And then I do think we could start with going through the dynamic coalitions and ask them for an update on their work and do some kind of review of the current situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, I was hoping you would moderate the session and ask, but we can take that in turns. Anyway, who would like to go first of the dynamic coalitions? Do you have volunteers? Or do we take them in the order they appear on the list? Nadia is top of my list. Yes.
Hello, this is Nadia from the Youth Coalition on Internet Governance. I'm sorry I wasn't able to make it last week, but I've read up, so I'm up to date. For the Youth Coalition on Internet Governance, we had our elections in last November, and we had no applications for Africa and from the Latin and Caribbean countries. So we have to open up re-elections this year again. We have a lot of interest, but they weren't sure whether or not they wanted to commit because of the IGF and other opportunities that were all happening at the same time. But now they have re-engaged and said, we can do this now. So we have to open this up in February. In the meantime, what is happening is I've switched kind of roles. So I used to represent the entire European Union. I only now represent half of it. So I have Western Europe and the others group, and I'm joined by Fawad Khan, who is going to represent the Eastern European group. And for now, I will still be your liaison, so I'm happy to be here. And in the future, one of the others may decide that they will want to join the coordination meetings, because we are allowed to only have a maximum of 2 terms. So this is my last term before I have to leave. In the meantime, I've been invited to the European Parliament on the 7th of March as one of 50 youth representatives to talk about how the European Parliament can better interact with youth organizations and better communicate with young people. The issues that I'm going to bring is how youth are being blocked from political participation through different stakeholder perspectives, access to the internet in Europe, so access to EU services, and how internet engagement can change or support or harm activities. Specifically per request from the community, I'm going to raise attention to options, possibilities, and solutions to access to the internet safety, and live captioning or subtitling of materials for young people to be able to responsibly and actively and safely interact with EU outreach. So if any of you have any reading materials or any points or comments regarding these particular issues, I'm very, very happy to receive them. Please send it to me by email so that I can read through them to make sure that issues related to access and connectivity and can be adequately addressed when I go there. So that's kind of one of our big points on our agenda at the moment. And we have a plan for 2019, but we'll be rolling that out at the end of the month.
Thank you, Nadia. Next is Avery on the list. I think you have the dynamic coalition on some schools, correct?
Sorry, this is Avery speaking. Hopefully can be heard.
We can hear you.
Yeah, okay, great. So yeah, a quick brief on what we're doing. After the meeting in Paris, which was fairly successful, we came out of that with some tasks to do. We have a website where we're hoping to collect information about all the schools, and we've gone through sort of an update on that. We're working on a taxonomy document that tries to sort of get a little less hand-wavy about what we mean by a school on internet governance. We see that so many have sprung up that we're now trying to understand the different types, the different choices they make, and such, with a goal hopefully to at some point offering some optional, modules or what have you that may be useful to schools as they self-form wherever. So that taxonomy document continues, and we're in the process of trying to move our list, and the person in Secretariat, namely me, is being less than completely timely about getting it all done. So that's pretty much where we're at now.
Marcus, are you still with us?
Sorry, instead of unmuting me, I had muted myself. So I said,
Okay, you're back.
Ben Wallace is the next of the list, but I don't know which dynamic coalition he represents. Over to you, Ben.
Hi, Marcus. I'm actually not representing any of the DCs. I just was interested to call in and follow the discussions. So I hope it's okay for me just to be observing.
That's more than okay. No.
Apologies for any confusion.
That's more than okay. No, you're welcome. Next one is Hanan. And please recall which dynamic coalition you represent. I should know that by now, but there are so many, it's difficult to keep track. Please, Anand, can you talk? Anand seems to have a problem with the sound. Can we move on? Oh, Anand, are you? No. The next one would be Ifla. That's the libraries, I take it. Who's speaking on their behalf?
Yes, hi, this is Esmeralda from International Federation of Library Association. I hope you can hear me.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Perfect. As a result of our meetings in the 2018 IGF, we are finalizing our public access toolkit that we brought to the 2018 IGF as an open document for discussion and suggestions, and it was very well received, and we received a lot of suggestions, and so we are integrating them now in the document, and we hope to launch it around March. And as we speak, we are also strategizing for the upcoming year in terms of already preparing for the next IGF and how to incorporate our current topics we're working on in the future projects at IGF. We also received a lot of, as a result of the IGF in 2018, a lot of requests for subscription to the Dynamic Coalition listserv, which is something we really wanted to have, because for quite a long time the list was a little bit dormant. So all in all, everything has gone the way we wanted, and so we're looking forward to, honestly, this year to really engage more, as we said many times, with other DC to work together on projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Esmeralda. And thanks, Olivier, for recalling that Anand is from the Internet Rights and Principles Coalition. Anand, are you able to talk now? If not, then we move on. The next, it says ISOC Live. I don't know who is representing from ISOC, which coalition? No, has.
Hi, Marcus. It's Eleonora. I just wanted to note in the chat that ISOC Live has written that this is to relay to a live stream that that ISOC is doing of the meeting. And just for the record, the transcripts are provided by Caption First.
And I have also to add, they are sponsored by the IGF Support Association. We have a special fund for accessibility. Yes. Okay, so ISOC Live is not an active participant, but I suppose it's Jolly who does the streaming. Then the next one would be, well, Utah, do you want to speak on behalf of your Dynamic Coalition?
Hello, Marcus. Hello, everyone. I was wondering if Marie-Laure probably might join in later, or has she sent an excuse that she would not be able to join? Eleonora, did you get anything from her?
Hi, Jutta. No, I haven't received anything from Marie-Laure.
Okay, so there is not so much I can report because I had not had the opportunity to get in contact with Marie-Laure in preparation for this call. What I can tell is that Dynamic Coalition on Child Online Safety is in two ways going to consolidate its work. On the one hand, with regard to the members, we have quite a very large group of members to the Dynamic Coalition, of which some are partly inactive or have been inactive. So we would like to consolidate this and really get people engaged and involved that are doing the work in the Dynamic Coalition. And the second is that it's so far it's a proposal. It's not yet confirmed by the whole dynamic coalition that we will focus this year on child protection in regard to children's rights, since 2019 is the year where the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child has its 30th anniversary, and the convention ensures freedom rights, so the right to freedom of information, freedom of expression, and rights to protection for children. And so with this kind of rephrased approach to child online safety, we would like to give a fresh input to the work of the dynamic coalition, but that's so far a proposal, and it's not yet confirmed by the whole dynamic coalition. So that's all I can report for the moment. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jutta. And in the chat, we heard from Anand that she is not able to speak, but she will send us in writing her update, which of course is most welcome. The next
hi, Marcus. Sorry to interrupt. Hanan actually sent me an update privately, so I will just read out what she wrote quickly. That the IRPC is working with the City Coalition Initiative, led by the mayors of New York, Amsterdam, and Barcelona. This sounds really interesting, Hanan. And if there's anything you would like to add to that, if you want to expand on that, please do in the chat.
Excellent, thanks. The next one is Kathy.
Oh, Marcus, I think Kathy is the captioner.
Oh, sorry. Lorena is then the next one, yes.
Hello, everyone. Wow, Smart City DC project sounds really exciting. I've heard about the project in Amsterdam and Barcelona. It's great. But back in top, I'm Lorena, and I wouldn't say I represent because we never elected a coordinator, but I am one of the founders of the DC Publicness. It has been, it has been dormant for quite a while. For last year. Last year, we realized that because we weren't able of securing funding, has been sort of impediment for the coalition to go farther on, because we were all working quite hard on different issues. But this year, we were able to secure a bit of funding, and it's not been approved by the whole coalition. This is something that we need to discuss. But a few members of the coalition are proposing to create a map of all laws and regulations. Excuse me one moment, please. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry. So, are you there? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can
Lorena,
hear you.
we can hear you.
Okay,
hear you.
I'm sorry. So we want to have we want to map all regulations that have had an impact on the public sphere with regards to the expanding the range of news and information online. Things like the right to be forgotten and derivations of those of this right, or the Network Act. Those are two types of regulation that have had an immediate impact on the public space and on the expansion and the range of information and news, and this is something that we want to start as soon as possible. The fundings are already there, and it only is for the coalition to give it a go. So it's something that will be published hopefully very soon.
Thank you for that. And then the next one is Martin. Still Internet of Things, I presume.
I think so, yes. Thank you for that. Basically, following the IGF in Paris, there were two substantial work streams that we're still working on getting to work well. One is on ethics in IoT, and the other one is on security in IoT. The first one facilitated by World Economic Forum to interact with our stakeholders. The second to be facilitated by ISOC and also in interaction with the stakeholders on board of the IoT Dynamic Coalition. So our first upcoming public meeting, public workshop will be during EuroDIC at day 0. And we look forward to present where we are and receive further feedback to help us prepare for Berlin.
Thank you for that. Next one is Mark. And the acronym says MSFT.
Okay. Hello, I'm Mark Swanzarek. I'm from Microsoft, and I work with Ben Wallace. So today I am also an observer. Thank you.
Okay, you're most welcome. And then Maureen now is the next one.
Thank you, Marcus. This is Maureen Hilliard. Just from DC Small Island Developing States. We just have to like to report that, excuse the noise outside, that there was a recent internet governance activity in the Caribbean, which took place in Trinidad and Tobago, which was very successful. And the Pacific community is currently working on holding an IG event in our region during the year. We need to send out a request for one of our small island member countries to host this event. So it's sort of like a major undertaking to even hold an event in the region. And because we're a new DC, we're using these local events to gather and consolidate issues of concern to our island nations that we can work on as a SIDS community. So it's a work in progress. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Michael.
Hi everyone, my name is Michael Ogia. I'm calling. I'm here more as an observer, but also because, as I mentioned last time, I'm part of a small group of people that are setting up a new dynamic coalition. So I'm just trying to stay informed about these conversations and report back. And when we have more information, which should be available in March, I will give you a more proper update.
Thanks. You cannot tell us in very short words what the dynamic coalition would be all about?
Of course I can. The Dynamic Coalition, it will be focusing specifically on the sustainability of journalism and news media, as well as kind of how that fits into the digital sphere, specifically how news media and news media sustainability is impacted by digital policy, it's impacted by online advertising, by the lack of market regulation, etc. So all of these issues fit into that, and we have identified that there's a niche for these issues, since it's not really being addressed anywhere, specifically that intersection, that relationship between media sustainability and digital policy.
Thanks a lot. Sounds interesting and very topical.
Thank you.
Who is next then? Nigel, are you part of Martin's support team? Or do you represent?
Yes, yes. Yes, that's right. No, I'm part of always. I'm always in support. Yes, so but in dialogue. Thank you.
Okay. And Nick is the next one on the list. Nick Smith.
DC DNSI, which had the humble opportunity to present at the last MAG meeting that was held last month in Geneva. We had the opportunity to kind of give an update on where we are for the coalition, which is focusing this year on universal acceptance for all international domain names. And where we are right now in the process, we are currently finalizing a proposal that's going to be going to the universal stakeholder group within ICANN. And we hoped to be successful that we would receive funding, so we would actually do a global survey. And the emphasis behind the survey is going to be focusing on awareness and working and looking into government, specifically at the federal and state level, to see how ready are they for universal acceptance and universal awareness. So that is kind of our focus right now. In terms of other things that we have planned on the horizon, my colleague Martin mentioned he was focusing on IoT. We will also be at Eurodig in June, so we plan to give an update there in the Netherlands, and then we also may have some engagements at the upcoming ICANN meeting, which will be happening in Kobe, Japan. So that's where we are. I'll pause there if anybody has any questions.
Thank you very much. And see Olivier and Sivas are next on the list. And as far as I take it, you both represent the same coalition. Who wants to talk on the...
I think I can say a few words. Marcus, it's Olivier.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Hi, good afternoon, or hello, everyone. Olivier Capanablanc speaking from the Dynamic Coalition on Core Internet Values. Since the meetings that we had in Paris during the IGF, there are two threads that have moved forward. One is to do with the discussions that we've had on Article 11 and Article 13 of the EU Copyright Directive. Just in a jiffy, the articles were passed by the European Parliament before we had our meeting in Paris. But since then, there have been some countries that have decided to backtrack and go the other way. So these things are far from being approved and from being implemented across the line. So we're actively monitoring this, and we might have a follow-up discussion on this. Of course, purely from the perspective of whether these would break core internet values or not. Parallel to this, we are also in discussions with the Global Commission on the Stability of Cyberspace. They have a long process that has taken a few years to protect the public core of the internet. So you might notice core and core values, public core. There are some internet invariants that are included in this, and we're currently studying any overlap between the two. Thanks.
Thank you for the update. And last but not least is Smita. Can you talk?
Hi, audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, I'm Smita. I'm representing the Gender Dynamic Coalition here right now. I mean, as far as the year is concerned, we are hoping to work more with other coalitions, especially like coalitions like Right to be Forgotten and things, to make sure that gender becomes more integral when you're thinking about internet governance and different aspects associated with it. We also have a new co-moderator of the Gender Dynamic Coalition this year. Baldeep, who presented at the previous IGF, will be joining the team. That's the main updates. And we'll also be working on implementing the sexual harassment policy for IGF and internet governance spaces, which last year went to the point, like it was submitted to the MAG. We're hoping to take that forward and put it into implementation this year. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you all. Have I missed out anyone? Just Eleonora, or have you gone through the entire list?
Hi, Marcus. I'm scrolling through. It looks like we've covered everyone. But of course, if we've mistakenly skipped over anyone, please feel free to jump in.
Right. I think it took a little bit longer than we had anticipated, but it was actually a very rich update, and it shows that there's a lot of substance going on in the work of the DCs. But with that, yes, I can hear you would like to jump in, Eleonora?
Oh, sorry. No, I was just going to say that I think this was a useful exercise in light of the fact that a couple of DCs specifically mentioned that they would like to work more with other coalitions, and I think having these kinds of updates periodically helps to show where there could be areas of convergence and positive collaboration.
Yes, absolutely. And this was also part of our discussion we had when we took stock in Paris, that we sort of moved towards collaboration, also substantive collaboration between the dynamic coalitions. Up to now, it has mainly been a process-related collaboration, but there is obviously overlap also in terms of substance. And that would be great if that kind of exchange can help to find ways for them to collaborate also in substantive issues. But with that, now we come to the other agenda items, and I would like to hand over to Jutta, as she was a MAG member and was there all 3 days for the open consultations and face-to-face MAG meetings. And I'm sure all colleagues would be interested in hearing an update. Please, Jutta.
Thank you, Marcus, for giving me the floor and for reviewing the outcomes of the first IGF open consultations. I do think that many of the people that are in the core today have also taken part, at least partly remotely, to the first open consultations and the MAG meeting the other 2 days. So if I do miss anything, please just feel free to step in and amend what has been said so far. So with regard to the dynamic coalition, I would put, summarizing from the MAG meeting, I would put the focus on the attempt of intensifying the work, the cooperation between the dynamic coalition and the other intersessional activities with within the whole IGF ecosystem. And I do know that we have only at the third point on our agenda the engagement of the dynamic coalitions in the annual meeting and the broader IGF ecosystem, but this was one of the focus points that were discussed during open consultations as well as during the MAG meeting then afterwards. Having that said, I do think that it was also stressed that the dynamic coalitions play an important role in the ecosystem because of the intersessional work that they are doing. Sometimes people get under the impression that dynamic coalitions are just there to have their own slot in the program of the annual meeting, leaving out the attention that must be paid to all the work that is done during the course of the work. And so what we've heard right now from the dynamic coalitions gives a very good overview on the important activities that are carried out during the year, and that the annual meeting is just giving the floor to be presented to the IGF community and anybody else who's taking part in the annual meeting. I would like to invite those representatives from the dynamic coalitions who have taken part in the 3 days meeting to give their own perspective on what was, from their point of view, the most important things that we had deliberations on when we met in Geneva. Is there anybody who would like to step in and report back from their perspective what was important for the process? No one would like to say anything?
We'll take the silence for agreement.
This is Nick Smith, representing the DC DNSI. If I could just kind of build on what Yuta was saying. For us, it was the first time, and my colleagues and I, to participate, except for Susan Chalmers, who's currently a MAG member. It was very interesting. I guess the one thing that when I left the MAG meeting that came to me was that this whole idea of relevance, and that the DCs, I think was already mentioned earlier at the onset of the meeting, is that we have to find a way to collaborate more together. I think that's something that, we have a lot of great ideas, and I think that we're, involved in a lot of great work, but we have to find synergies so that we can make sure that we're doing our part in keeping the IGF relevant and bringing new people in as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. I do think what the dynamic coalition on the domain name system did during the meeting in Geneva was quite useful. That you had during lunch break a 1-hour session introducing the work of the dynamic coalition to the whole of the MAG, and I would also encourage other dynamic coalitions to do the same for all MAG members to better understand what the dynamic coalition's work has to bring forward to the internet governance ecosystem, because it's really about all of the MAG understanding what the dynamic coalitions are doing, and across the dynamic coalitions addressing cross-sectoral issues that were relevant to one dynamic coalition and another. So this session that we had during one of the lunch breaks was very useful, and I do think dynamic coalitions need to be better known by all of the MAG members. So, Marcus, do you think there's anything else? I read in the chat that Olivier wrote, I'm not sure how many people who are on today's call were in the Geneva session. Do you think we should report a little bit more about what was discussed?
Well, maybe give a high-level update. Maybe that would be useful for those who are not in Geneva. And I think they were looking at the list, and at the most half of the people were in Geneva, if at all.
If I may, Yuta, I would also suggest if you're willing to give an overview of maybe just some of the general major outcomes of the latest MAG discussions having to do with the program, because I think that those are interesting for DCs to learn about.
Yes, Eleonora, of course. Thank you for reminding me, since we already had just our fourth virtual meeting of the MAG, and this brought back the memories of the face-to-face meeting 3 weeks ago. The most important thing is that we agreed on 3 main themes that will guide also through the call for workshop proposals that shall be out on 4th of March. And this is in an attempt to achieve a more consistent program for IGF 2019. One of the messages that was given by the co-chair for the open consultation, but from the German Federal Ministry of Economics, Daniela Brandstrup, was that we will have enough space and enough room and enough time to have a very broad program, that we could have definitely more sessions than we had in Paris, but also the other side of the coin is that we do not want to have more than 10 parallel strands of sessions. So there are no limitations in space, but there are limitations just to keep the program comprehensible and consistent for the community. So we agreed on 3 main themes, which are data governance, inclusion and access, and everything around security, safety, stability, and resilience. And to make this more comprehensible for those who would like to propose a workshop, it was decided that we will have for the 3 main themes something that we called a narrative, which describes what is to understand in this thematic area, and then trying to get people to design their workshop proposal to fit very well under one of the 3 narratives. So the narrative will be a short description which also covers how the theme is related to internet governance, in order to make people who are familiar with the ecosystem, but also those who are newcomers who are not yet so familiar with the whole concept of internet governance, make them understand that their proposal should fit in there very well. That enables us to phrase during the course of the workshop or the session, or however you call it, some policy questions and to produce tangible outcomes during the session. So that is the purpose of structuring the whole program among these 3 themes. And we are now in the process with 3 different working groups on setting up the narratives. There is a common template that is used by all the 3 working groups, so that the narratives are following kind of the same structure. And this shall help not only in the process of producing a proposal, but also then afterwards in the process of the evaluation of the workshop proposals, that we will from the beginning have a better understanding how the specific issue, the topic that is proposed by the workshop proposers fits into the overall program for the Internet Governance Forum. With regard to the time frame, I've said before, we have our next virtual meeting in 2 weeks' time, and I do think half a week after that, so 4 or 5 days, the call for workshop proposals shall go out on 4th of March. So it's a very tight schedule, and still I'm confident that we will have a call for workshop proposals that really helps us to end up with a consistent program for this year's IGF. Anything I need to add, or any further questions from your side?
I have a question. May I speak?
Yes.
Yeah. Soon after the last MAG meeting, a letter together with the World Economic Forum was drafted by the MAG chair, and there is some development underway in terms of collaborating with the World Economic Forum. Could you tell us more about this effort, and what it would mean for the dynamic coalitions, or how dynamic coalitions could work in this context? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I can confirm that it was reported during the MAC meeting from the World Economic Forum, since the chair, Lynn Santamor, had taken part in the World Economic Forum. And I also know about this letter, but I'm afraid I cannot dive more into details of the whole process. It's just outside my knowledge. Maybe Marcus or Eleonora, if you do anything more in detail, you could chime in.
I cannot add anything either.
Hi, Jutta. Yeah, from the Secretariat side, we can't really add anything at this stage because I think that this is a very, very, very preliminary proposal, and what folks on the call might have seen on the mailing list is all the information that we have at this point.
Any further questions in regard of the first open consultation and MAG meeting?
Well, I think you gave a very good overview. We have 15 minutes left on the call, and I think it would be useful to turn to the next agenda.
Sorry, Marcus. But just very briefly, just wanted to thank Jutta for the overview. I think for me it was a very, very positive first MAG meeting. I mean, I'm just an observer on the MAG, but I've been to quite a few MAG meetings, and I thought this was very positive. And one of the reasons it was positive, it was because of the very constructive and positive and detailed explanation that the German authorities were able to give on their preparations for Berlin. So I think that helped enormously. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that, Nigel. And I think it's good to have a positive note moving forward to Berlin. And I think that was shared by most people, your sentiments who participated in the meeting, either in person or remotely. But Jutta, may I ask you then to take us to the next agenda item, which is obviously linked to the previous one.
Yes, of course, Marcus, thank you. So talking about the dynamic coalitions engagement in the annual meeting 2019, and also in the broader IGF ecosystem. So I would suggest that we try to pick up that point also from what I said previously, what was agreed among the MAG on the three main themes. Although they are not, the narratives are not yet there, they will be there within 2 weeks' time, probably, when agreed by the MAG. And it could be considered that what we did last year with trying to tie the work of the dynamic coalitions to the SDGs, we could probably try a parallel exercise with tying the dynamic coalitions work to the three main themes, trying to find out where are some similarities, and probably also the dynamic coalitions might be able to give the MAG some input on how to evaluate workshop proposals in the three areas. So, for example, what I've already heard at the beginning of our meeting about the dynamic coalition on access in libraries could give very useful hints to the main theme of inclusion and access, and how workshop proposals coming in this under this main theme could also be evaluated and checked against some of the values that you have already for your work in the dynamic coalition, and probably also laid down in terms of reference for the work of the dynamic coalition, and also from the other dynamic coalitions. Only from what you've told during the first 25 minutes of our session, I have seen so many relations to the three main themes that I would propose dynamic coalitions, once the narratives are out, have a look at the narratives and try to find the links between the work they are doing and these three main themes. Just a suggestion, I would very much like to hear what you think about that and if it might be a valuable exercise.
Hi, Jutta. I've just put my hand up. My name is Maureen Hilliard. I actually sort of like am very interested in those three themes, and I think that's you know, we're actually just as an ISOC board, we're just starting to put together our strategic plan for the year, and we, you know, it would give us a really good guide to sort of like be able to focus on something that could be relevant and contribute to, for example, for us in the dynamic Coalition for Small Island Developing States. So yeah, I'm very keen for that idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Eleonora and I had just done in parallel the same, writing down the three main themes. So it's just a matter of time that the narratives are not produced yet, but will be ready, as said before, in 2 weeks' time. And yes, happy to receive then any comments from the dynamic coalitions as well, trying to help to shape the program that the work of the dynamic coalitions fits also very well in for the annual meeting. If there are no other questions, I would pick up on another point that is more an organizational issue. I do think that last year we agreed on very short notice not to have a booth in the IGF village at the IGF in Paris. And I wanted to bring up this issue early enough in the year to discuss whether a booth will be useful to have in this year's IGF, or whether there was some, I think, disappointment about how the booth was received by participants in the IGF in the year before. And maybe there are also some other ideas how the dynamic coalitions could be more visible during the course of the IGF, which is this year full 4 days and a day 0. So there is lots of space in regard of rooms and time to give dynamic coalitions more visibility, besides the individual dynamic coalition sessions that shall take place during the program, and also besides probably a thematic main session that dynamic coalitions will have in November 2019. So any ideas that you might develop, that you already have in mind, or that you might develop in the time till our next call, are very much welcome to give more visibility to the dynamic coalitions work.
Thanks, Jutta, for raising this. This is a timely issue to be raised at this stage. We have still some time ahead of Berlin, but looking back at the joint booth, it really didn't work well. And I think part of the problem is that there's so many different dynamic coalitions. And the only link holding us together is the fact that we are dynamic coalition. That is essentially process-related issue. I just wonder if we move towards more substantive collaboration, whether it might be helpful to have a common theme as a roof over a booth, should we go ahead with a booth. That might be easier than each dynamic coalition could hang up their take on this common theme. But that might be an easier way to attract other participants. That's just a thought, but one of the problems obviously is to have a booth is nice, but it needs to have somebody behind at the booth to tell people what it is all about, and that is always the difficulty. So we really would have to have a firm commitment from sufficient number of DC members to man the booth.
Excellent, Marcus. I do think that we don't know how huge the appetite of dynamic coalitions for new members might be. It might be different for the dynamic coalitions, but from my perspective, there are many participants in the annual meeting that just come across dynamic coalitions when they see in the program, oh, there is a workshop or a session run by a dynamic coalition, and that might be interesting and related to the person's own area of work and expertise. But there are so many people who just might not come across the work of the dynamic coalitions when having a look at the workshop program, but who might be interested in working in the course of the year together with the dynamic coalition. And maybe we all could consider what would be a good approach to this situation, that there might be individuals and organizations, institutions that would fit in very well into one of the dynamic coalitions, but they just don't know what to do to become a member of a dynamic coalition, to better understand what the work means, that there is intersessional work, and so on and so on. And so if it's not a booth, it might be another format where people learn not only about the content of the work of the dynamic coalitions, but also of this special format that a dynamic coalition means and how people can engage with dynamic coalitions.
Thanks. I just had a message also from Louis, as this is the first time we use Zoom. I think he will be quite keen to assess the user experience, and it's shown on the screen whether you want to participate in that, whether it is better, much better, or worse, or much worse. My question is, maybe we should not jump to conclusions too early. Each platform takes some time to get used to, and they all have advantages and disadvantages, but I'm not sure whether anybody from DCAT was actually on the call, but I think as they were the ones who had most issues with WebEx, it would be also great to hear from them. And Avri in the chat says she loves Zoom, yes. But it was, as I said, if you're using it for the first time, you may not have an immediate love at first sight, and it might take some time to get used. And maybe you know, the second or third time, you may be more positive. But I see here, Anand also loves Zoom as well. And of course, you are free to and encouraged to assess your user experience. Luis, would you like to add anything to this survey?
No, thank you, Marcus. I have the results here. I will share. I mean, there is no secret, but there is basically good views of Zoom for now. I will share within the Secretariat. You know that this has a cost, but I mean, if it's justified and we can get the funds, I mean, this has to be decided. So it's important that we get this assessment by the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Luis. I think sort of the first spontaneous reactions are actually very positive here from Smita as well, much more simple in terms of not having to install a WebEx add-on. Michael really loves Zoom too as well. And Esmeralda prefers Zoom to WebEx as well. Nigel. So I think it's a good, very positive first feedback. But please fill in the form and submit it, and then we take it from there. Okay, over back to you, Jutta, to wrap up.
Yes, so first of all, I would like to ask if anybody has any other business to bring forward to the agenda. Give you a short time to think about that. I don't see anybody raising their hand or just speaking.
Hi, Jutta. It's Nadia from the Youth Coalition on Internet Governance.
Hi, Nadia. Oh, I've just seen your hand. Sorry.
Hi. I wasn't sure, but I thought I'd tell you anyway. I think I also emailed you, but for the IGF main session in France, we as the DC coordination, like all together, we did a main session, and we came there's key messages that came out of that session, and now I've been asked to apply for the EU delegation to the G20 Youth Summit, which is going to happen the 26th to the 30th of May, in which I have to present a policy proposal on behalf of the European delegation to the G20. And as one of the proposals, one of the key messages from the IGF main session was to promote this at G20 level. I thought I'd go and do that. This is something that that I need to submit this evening. And if anybody wanted me to raise particular topics or issues to consider as part of the policy that I'm trying to design, please send me an email, and I'd be very happy to try and kind of work with this and to be able to present this as the EU delegation's proposal to the G20 in June.
Yes, I do think as long as it's like someone answered already to your email, as long as it's referenced to the main session that was organized by the Dynamic Coalitions, I do think this is a very good idea. And probably it might be better if people send you a message privately if they want some issue to be highlighted in what you bring forward there.
Nadia, thank you for sharing this on the call too, and inviting inputs from the DCs. If you could, by email, maybe share in writing what you plan to submit, that may also help us get a better idea of how the key messages would be used as a basis for the policy proposal that you're going to make.
Yeah, very good suggestion.
I'll make sure to do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Nadia.
I can also see another hand from Muhammad Shabir. Have you already spoken, or is this a new hand?
No, thank you very much for the floor. No, I've not spoken. Someone asked that about the experience of Zoom. So I sit in the DICAD, Dynamic Coalition on Accessibility and Disability. So this is my first time attending such session, and for me this has been possible just because of Zoom. So WebEx somehow did not work as a visually impaired user. So I would urge the MAG and other IGF meetings, particularly. So I would urge you to keep using unless we found some other tool which is more accessible.
Okay, very, very valuable feedback that you gave, Muhammad. Thank you so much. So if there are no more comments, I do think we can conclude the meeting. Thanks to all for taking part. I would like to refer you to the Internet Governance Forum website once the narratives are out there, and probably we can discuss the idea of relating the Dynamic Coalitions work to the three main themes and the narratives provided then by the working groups. Discuss this in our next call. Eleonora, can you give us some guidance when this should probably happen? How, what intervals do we have for the dynamic coalitions calls?
Sure, Jutta. So typically they have been 1 month apart. When we get closer to the annual meeting, they may increase in frequency, but I don't think we're there yet. So we can expect the next call to take place in mid-March. And of course, as usual, the Secretariat will send out the details and the records from this meeting.
Oh, that's wonderful news, Eleanor. And probably if we meet again in mid-March, then the call for workshop proposals will already be out. And I do think that it would, of course, be beneficial if also the dynamic coalitions could use their networks to spread the message that the call is out and what the deadline is, and what the MAC expects to receive on workshop proposals could spread this message also out to get really a good quality workshop proposals this year. Thank you. Then thank you to everybody and for joining the meeting and for all the input you've given, and have a nice day, nice evening, and see you in 4 weeks' time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jutta.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Bye bye all. Thank you.